Are you finding manifesting to be stressful, frustrating, anxiety provoking, and some days feel like you might be going crazy? If so, you're not alone. If you want to know why that is and what you can do about it, then you're going to want to stay tuned. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another rousing episode of Spilling the Tea Tuesday. My name is Flossie, and I consider myself to be the funniest, wittiest mindset coach, as well as your OG Hype You Up Rampage Queen here on YouTube. If you want one-on-one coaching with me, links are going to be in the description box below, as well as links for the Manifestation Accountability Journal that has 90 fun-filled days of checking in, where you rate your mental diet, indicate whether you've done your routine, and then it has fun things that you can do, like what did you enjoy that day, what are you grateful for, etc. And then there's space for FU letters and even command letters in here. So that's 90 days of accountability. If you're interested in that, check it out. Before I get started, my calendar, which I already have the pages ripped out, just for funsies. So this says candy on sale. Fucking treat yourself. Well, if you want to have some candy. This says just recycle your shit. How about you just put your shit here in the trash where it belongs? You remember her? Owl trash can, always hungry for your BS. Stick your shit in there. This says maybe you shouldn't swear today, just fucking kidding. I've got the biggest potty mouth on the face of this planet. I like to do it when I'm rampaging too. Rain, go the fuck away. How about you manifest better weather, or just manifest being where the weather is what you want? It doesn't have to be a clusterfuck. No, it does not, because you can put the BS of the 3D in the trash where it belongs and manifest what you want as the operant power of your reality. This says fucking plant something already. So, there are some folks that refer to manifesting as planting a seed of intention and then affirming and persisting until it literally shows up in your 3D reality. So let's get to the topic at hand. Are you someone who's finding manifesting or the manifestation process to be frustrating, stressful, anxiety provoking, generating a whole range of emotions, or even having some days where you wonder like if you're losing your mind or going crazy? If so, you're not alone. People experience many things on their manifestation journey. And as you guys know, I try not to limit you. I try not to talk about things that are going to give you assumptions that aren't going to work for you. But as many of you do know, I have, learned quite a few things over my life. And a lot of that has been how we think, how we process things. And many of us just have assumptions in general about emotions and how our mind works. And until we change those assumptions, well, why not work with some of those assumptions that we have and help to figure out why you might be experiencing some things and what you can do about it. So, and I realize this is my opinion, my assumption, but I think it's going to help a lot of people. And if it does, great. And if you don't resonate with what I'm saying, no worries. You don't have to, subscribe to the notion of what I'm talking about. You don't have to form, any of these assumptions. So anyway, why is the process so frustrating sometimes, or, making you feel anxious? Well, a lot of it literally has to do with because your reality, your 3D is not matching what you're thinking. They are not lining up. Got to keep in mind that during the manifestation process, it is not unusual to live like in basically some sort of duality. You're manifesting a desire, but your 3D is reflecting something else. So in your mind, you have it, and the 3D, you don't. And we navigate the 3D while we're affirming and persisting until what? The 3D reality conforms. Well, during that time period, whether it is an hour, a day, a few days, a week, maybe a month, or whatever, that we are going through this process, we might think and feel some different things about it because they don't line up. And so, what causes you to feel this way because the 3D reality is not matching what you're thinking? Well, number one, you can't do what you want. Number two, you're not dealing with your emotions or processing what's happening. Number three, the ego mind's trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you in the comfort zone by generating negative thoughts. Number four, we are impatient as fuck and we are used to instant gratification. Keep in mind the instant gratification. And five, now that we're spiritually awake, we worry about every single negative thought. So if you think of all those things, at the end of the day, guess what? It all boils down to your 3D not matching what you're thinking, what you're affirming. So number one, not being able to do what you want. This should be pretty clear. If you're manifesting your specific person and you want to hang out with them, but you're in no contact, and at the moment you can't, that can feel frustrating. It might even cause anxiety. You might miss your specific person. You might feel lonely. That isn't always a happy place to be. It might be that you're manifesting money and you want to go out and buy some things, or there's an activity that you want to do and it's just not quite in your budget at that moment to do it. Now you think as though it's in your budget, but it's not. And so that doesn't match up and that feels frustrating. Or maybe you're manifesting money because you got a bunch of bills to pay and you're feeling, all sorts of emotions some kind of way because you really need to pay the bills. You don't have the money yet, so you feel stressed out. Reality is not matching your thoughts, which is not allowing you to do what you want. Number two, and this is the big one. This is the one that trips up a lot of people. This is one that I often talk to my clients about. And, it's not unusual for this to be the aha moment for folks. But you, or, most people, I'll just maybe say most people aren't dealing with their emotions, or they're not processing what's happening to them in the 3D. Because why? In their mind, they have what they want. And so they try not to think as if they don't have what they want, but they're not processing how they feel about not having what they want. And so let me elaborate. If we're manifesting a specific person, in our mind, we are together. So we don't have some of the conversations that we might have had before in the 3D that would have helped us to process, how we're being treated or what has happened. Because while we're manifesting, we at times stifle what we would say, because some of us think, well, if I say something to SP, that's going to make my manifestation journey harder. So I'm not having some of these conversations, or I'm not like cussing him out or confronting him or her, because I don't want to make this harder for me. So therefore, I'm just stuffing down everything that I would want to say, and I'm not dealing with it at all. I have the assumption that if they say things to their specific person, that's going to backfire and the specific person is going to get angry or never want to be with them again. And so they don't say things that they would have said when they were spiritually asleep. They don't go through any of the process that they would have gone through when they were spiritually asleep to, deal with what happened and to, I don't want to use like the term necessarily move on, but like when we experience something in the 3D reality, when we're spiritually asleep, we do go through a process of either grief or breaking down what happened to us in a way that we can just put it to rest. And so we're not doing that, and we stop doing that. So what happens? We have all this emotion from what's going on in the 3D, especially because it doesn't match what our thoughts are. And when these emotions are generated, what do? We stuff them down. We stuff them down, and we're not dealing with it. So guess what? We become like the volcano that is going to explode at any time. We are more easily triggered. We have a harder time interacting with the 3D because we're not doing what we used to do. So there you go. You're sitting there frustrated as fuck with all your emotions. That's just making the process more difficult. Number three, the ego mind trying to protect you. So, the ego mind is throwing all these negative thoughts at you. Why? To keep you in the comfort zone. Why? Because it has we naturally have a fear of the unknown. It's part of how our mind works. And so when something is unknown, which when we're manifesting, there is an unknown, because sometimes people are like, can I manifest this or not? Or how is this going to happen? I know I want this, but how is it going to unfold? When am I going to have it? And how does this work? And so there's all this fear-provoking type of questioning. And so, you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. Your mind wants to keep you where you're comfortable, which is in the known, even if it's something that you don't want. That's, if there's many times in life that if we have to do something that's different and we break the routine, we may have a response to that. Well, essentially you're doing that while manifesting, because you are doing something different. You're breaking outside your comfort zone. Your ego mind doesn't necessarily have a buy-in right away about manifesting. It sees the 3D reality as facts. And so it just kicks back to you all these negative thoughts about whatever it is that you're manifesting to keep you comfortable where you are, safe where you are. And all these negative thoughts can generate trigger negative feelings, that the feelings that we're not dealing with item number two. And so, you got all these fears about not being able to get what you want. Ego mind's trying to protect you, generating negative thoughts and negative emotion. Number four, we're used to instant gratification. We're impatient. And so we want things now, 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 now. So when it's not showing up now, what are we doing? We're looking under every rock for our manifestation. We're getting frustrated because we don't have it right now. Sometimes we forget that we're learning a new process and it's completely different from everything that we've ever been taught. It actually negates a lot of the things that we've been taught, as it really has us shift into a different way of thinking. And so, it can take a few minutes to master manifestation. It doesn't have to take forever. You can affirm about being a master manifesting and speed it up. You can do a lot of things to speed that up, but there is an interim where we have a desire that we want. We're thinking as if we have it. The 3D is reflecting something else, and we're just being impatient. And number 5, when we're spiritually awake, we start worrying about every negative thought. Why? Because we know that our dominant thought manifests. So every time we think something negative, we're like, oh, is that going to manifest? No, not necessarily. I mean, unless it's your dominant thought on the topic, then it may manifest depending on what your other assumptions are. But we start really getting worried about every single negative thought that we have. So then we are hyper-focused on everything that we're thinking. And that takes a lot of mental energy, which can also be anxiety provoking. Recognizing that we're having all these negative thoughts. It's like, oh, am I thinking something that is going to derail my manifestation? Am I causing my own delay? And so more emotion, more negative thinking, because at the end of the day, your 3D reality is what? Not matching what you're thinking. So, I mean, it all boils down to that. So, and then life isn't feeling fun. How can life feel fun anymore if you're watching every single negative thought? You have all these emotions that you're not processing. You can't do what you want to do. You're pissed as fuck because you want it now and you don't have it now. I mean, all of that to me sounds like no fun. And so that's where the frustration all comes in. Having said that, you're like, okay, now that I know that I'm making myself a hot ass mess express because my 3D is not matching what I'm thinking, and I'm having all these emotion, negative thoughts, and impatience, as well as emotions I'm not dealing with, etc. What am I supposed to do about it? Well, let me tell you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to point out my favorite thing on the face of this planet that many of my clients do and that I also do, which is what? The FU letter, command letter. And of course, you can also do the love letter if you wish. But the FU letter helps you to put the old story where? In the trash, where it belongs. So it helps you to process all the emotions that you are not processing, or any old story that you're not processing because in your mind you're together, etc. You can also do it because you're impatient, because you're recognizing the 3D reality hasn't conformed, that you're having all the same negative thoughts that are generating emotions, etc. So what do you do with the FU letter? Of course, I'll link the video about the FU letter and command letters for your situation. But you basically write a letter to whatever it is that's bothering you, whether it's to a person, an object, an entity, a concept. You can even write it to yourself. But you write whatever you'd want to say to that person's face or object, etc. How you feel, or how you felt at the time, how you feel about manifesting it, and you destroy it. So that is a way to process all the emotions that you were bearing. So instead of bearing them, you're getting them out, which does what? Helps you to not get so triggered, helps you to affirm and persist. And a lot of people do reflect that. A lot of my clients who start using these tools literally say, I've gotten rid of a lot of how I feel. I feel so much better. It's so much easier to affirm and persist. I don't feel as anxious or angry or whatever towards what's going on in my 3D or my SP or the money, etc. So everything you want to say to their face, how you feel about manifesting it, and destroy it. Now, don't forget, we do not take responsibility for anything traumatic or anything from when we were children. Then you can follow up with a command letter. Command letter, you say to that person, object, entity, institution, concept, what you want them to do. Is if they're already doing it, you're writing with competence and you're using the words of conviction. Of course, you're going to see that more in depth in the video, but an FU letter might be like, Dear SP, FU for being so ridiculous, immature, and ghosting me. You're a grown person and I don't appreciate that you're treating me like crap because you can't process your own bullshit. Like, grow up, start acting like a grown man, woman, person, and say what it is that you think instead of just leading me along and then just ghosting me, because that's immature as hell. It made me feel like I was not worthy of your love and affection, like I'm not desirable, like, nobody wants to have a relationship with me. And I'm really frustrated and angry that I've manifested this for myself, or manifest this version of you, and then destroy it. And then a command letter might be something like, Dear SP, you think I'm the best thing that's ever happened to you, period. It's a fact that you brag to everybody about being in a relationship with me. You think about me 24/7, 365. You're always blowing up my phone, telling me how amazing I am no matter what. You're literally head over heels for me because I fucking said so. you're saying how you want it to be, like if it's already that way. The other thing you can do, the love letter. I'll probably link the video also for the love letter, but essentially instead of writing the command letter where you're in a position of authority, you're writing a love letter as if the person is how you want them to be. You could also write it to money and other things if you really wanted it to, but we typically don't write love letters unless we're actually like in the relationship and feeling that way. So it also helps your mind to have a buy-in that what you're thinking could possibly be true. The command letter just puts you back in your position of power and thinking that what you're affirming could possibly be true. So these are just things to help speed up the process and to make you feel better, because who wants to feel like crap when we're manifesting? But the love letter, just think of LOVE, you're living in the end, you're taking ownership of what you want, you're writing to the version of the person, and E, you're expressing your emotions. So it might be like, Dear SP, I'm the happiest I've ever been because I'm in a relationship with you. I couldn't have asked for a better partner than what I have with you. You literally take me on tons of romantic dates. You treat me like a queen, goddess, king, princess. You're always cooking such amazing meals for me. You're constantly calling me and making me feel validated and assured. You do everything to make me feel secure. I feel like I'm your priority every day. I love you, so very much, blah, 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 blah. Like whatever you'd write in a love letter. Now, one of the other things you can do, number 2. So number 1 was a FU letter, command letter, love letter type of thing. Number 2, do some EFT tapping. I've done plenty of videos where I've talked about EFT tapping, but you can tap you can tap your emotion out. You can tap your affirmations in. And, we tend to do Robert Smith's faster EFT tapping. So the points are the inner eye, the outer eye, under the eye, the clavicle, and the wrist. And so you would tap. Like if you're feeling upset and you're feeling anxious and sad, you would think like, I release and let this go as you're thinking of the situation, the anxiety, how you're feeling. I release and let this go. I release and let this go. It's safe for me to release and let this go. And then you can grab your wrist and take a breath in, breathe out, and like say peace or something like that. But you would keep repeating that until you really didn't feel those strong emotions anymore. If you want to tap in your affirmations, go right ahead. It actually works really amazingly. Why? Because scientifically, with scientific studies, and this was something I learned in my master's program, they have found EFT tapping to be just as effective as cognitive behavioral therapy as far as changing some behaviors. Why? Because it actually creates, it makes changes in the brain and it reduces the stress hormone level of cortisol. And so if you think about it, if you're tapping in your affirmations, which is in doing a process that makes changes in your brain, as well as lowers your stress level and makes you feel more peaceful about it, don't you think your mind is going to have a buy-in sooner and therefore it would show up you sooner and you'd feel better? Yes. So, you'd be like, SP's madly in love with me, treats me like a diamond, makes me feel so secure, he loves being my partner, or whatever. And then you would just go to each spot while you're tapping in your affirmations. SP's madly in love with me, treats me like a diamond, loves being my partner, whatever your affirmations are. You would just go to all the points and you would keep tapping while you're saying your affirmations. You can grab your wrist and breathe out and say peace or something like that if you wish. But you would just keep going through the points and do your routine. And actually you can use EFT as a focusing tool if you choose to do focused affirming. So there's that, and that's some good news. 3, affirm for what's troubling you. Figure out what your main issue seems to boil down to. If you are feeling like you don't have confidence as a manifestor, affirm for manifestation abilities, where you affirm for things that imply you're a perfect expert manifestor, that you always get what you want and either everything works out for you or your life is perfect. I can see if I can find the video here about what to do as far as what to affirm. So if you find that you're just feeling anxious in general, you could affirm that you feel safe and secure at all times, or you feel safe and secure and, list with whatever you're manifesting. Like if it's your SP and you just find that a lot of your thoughts boil down to just not feeling secure in that relationship, SP does everything to make me feel secure. If you are finding that you're just, really worried about money, I feel completely safe and secure about my financial situation. Of course I do, I'm financially free. And so you would just figure out what at the end of the day is troubling you. I feel confident and powerful at all times. If it's the negative thinking, you can affirm, my mind is under my total complete control. I only think thoughts in line with my manifestation, or, I see evidence of my power daily. You can find things to affirm to negate whatever is troubling you, to negate whatever negative thinking overall that you're having. Number 4, gain confidence as a manifestor. Do my wouldn't it be funny if list so that you can feel more powerful as a manifestor, because the more powerful that you feel as a manifestor, the less that your ego mind is going to try to fight you that you can't manifest what you want. because it's going to start to have a buy-in that you can manifest what you want. Why? Because you're proving to yourself that you're a powerful manifester. So that whole irritation can literally be put in the trash where it belongs by gaining confidence as a manifester. And number 5, use distraction. You know, we're not meant to like live at home, being the old cat lady, clinging to our cats like grandma clings to her sweater, not going anywhere while we're sitting for the phone to ring from our fucking specific person. No. Nor are we supposed to sit there waiting for our money to show up. We are supposed to live our life, have fun, while what we want is coming in. I don't know if I'll have enough room to link the video where I talk about being spiritually asleep versus spiritually awake, but when we were spiritually asleep, we were often hopeful about whatever it is that we wanted. We thought as if we had it. We weren't worrying about every negative thought. We quite often were just processing life as it came along and just, I mean, I use the word hopeful because I feel like that was a state that a lot of people embodied. And when I've talked to clients about that, they've quite often agreed, like that they didn't feel as worried about anything negative they were thinking. They felt more positive. They kind of felt more hopeful about whatever it is that they wanted. And they just thought about it as if they had it, or, you know, that they would get it, or that it would come someday, or, you know, they would talk positively about it to friends. They weren't necessarily worried about, you know, every single negative thought that crossed their mind, nor were they living in a sea of doubt or negativity or, you know, frustration and all that stuff. And so, you know, you gotta keep in mind that now that you're spiritually awake, if your mindset changed from when you were spiritually asleep, as far as if you feel more negative about things, find things to affirm that are going to override that. Distract yourself, do activities, continue to enjoy life. Like we used to enjoy life. We used to do a bunch of things. And then we found out that our thoughts great and that we can do have anything that we want, but we need to change our dominant thought on the topic. And some people literally stop living life and just try to affirm 24/7, 365 and don't do anything. And, you know, you got to find balance in between doing your routine and living your life and learning how to keep a clean mental diet and learning how to process whatever's happening while you're waiting for your 3D reality to conform. You don't necessarily have to wait long for it to conform. It can conform really rapidly. But if you are having a small amount of weight and you are finding yourself to be frustrated, feeling like, you know, questioning yourself, all those things that I've discussed, maybe go through this list and say, do any of these things apply to me? Do I feel like any of these things resonate with me with, you know, whatever I have thought about emotions or how we go through life? And if you say yes, like I really feel like this resonates with me, then pick one of the items on the list to try in order to move past whatever's bothering you so that you can enjoy life again. You know, one of the things I didn't mention is that you can also affirm for your emotion, and that will generate you feeling better as well as you manifesting things that would make that to be true. If you're affirming, I feel more loved than ever, you're going to feel more loved than ever, and you're going to manifest things that are going to make you feel more loved than ever, like your relationship. If you're affirming you're the happiest you've ever been, you will start to feel happy, as well as you will manifest things that will make you happier, you know, the things that you want. If you're affirming that you feel safe and secure at all times, or confident and powerful at all times, guess what? You'll either feel safe and secure or confident and powerful, and you will manifest things because of that. You know, as if you feel insecure in your relationship and you're affirming that SP makes you feel secure, or you feel so loved and appreciated by SP, or you feel like your SP's priority, you will feel like safe and secure or like SP's priority. And then you will manifest them doing things that make you feel that way. The same if you affirm that you feel rich as fuck and financially free, you will feel that way. Or I feel at peace with my financial situation, you will feel that way and manifest things that will make that be true for you. So, I mean, I do talk about that. You don't have to feel it real. Let me be clear. I don't fall in the you have to feel it real camp, because that's a bunch of law of attraction BS. And I know I've made videos debunking that, but you can use your mind and saying how you feel in order to generate feeling that way. And then the bonus is because whatever our dominant thought is on a topic is what we experience and what we manifest. Guess what? You're going to manifest things that are going to make that be what? True in your 3D reality. So use your mind to your advantage. Can you just manifest by affirming and persisting and keeping your mental diet clean, having that repetition of thought and all that? Of course. Of course you can, because you can change your dominant thought. Do we sometimes change our dominant thought faster if we deal with the things that we feel are holding us up? because, you know, your emotions don't manifest. But if your emotions are constantly all over the place because your thoughts are triggering you and you can't keep your emotions under control, and you feel like the hot mess express on the floor crying, having a complete and total spiral, being in victim mode instead of stepping in your power, then can you cause your own unintentional delay if you're spiraling, and you're spiraling mentally because you feel so terrible emotionally that it's keeping you in a victim state because you don't feel like you can push through it? Yes, it is possible to cause your own unintentional delay by having a bunch of negative thinking. So you don't have to be happy to manifest. You can be manifesting through tears. You can actually have your manifestation show up in the middle of a spiral. But why have the process be miserable, and why potentially prolong your misery if there's things that you can do to get out of your victim mode and get back on top, back in your power, and stay in your power? My clients who have done the Get Your Shit Bootcamp, where they have done these things and they have done these exercises or use these tools, however you want to look at it, so that their old stories in the garbage, so their resistance is in the garbage, so that they have an easier time affirming and persisting, and they have a cleaner mental diet, they say they enjoy manifesting more. They say that they get quicker movement, that they get it faster, that they're able to do their routine, that if something happens in the 3D, they're not spiraling like they used to, that they are not as miserable. So why continue to be miserable when there's things that you can do that are going to, at the end of the day, in my opinion, help you to get your shit faster, because you're dealing with the resistance that might be part of your holdup in the first place, or, you know, triggering you to where you have a bunch of negative thinking. So that's what I think about all these things. You can take this information or leave it. I feel like it can be helpful, but at the end of the day, you could possibly be feeling anxiety, frustration, sadness, stress, you know, wondering if you are losing your mind because your 3D reality is not matching your thoughts. And that can potentially cause some of these some of these things that I had mentioned. So if it applies to you, go ahead and use some of the tools. If you don't feel like it applies to you, don't worry about it. You can just check me out in the next video. So drop any comments, questions, concerns below, because you know I love to check them out. And as usual, I'll talk to you later. Bye.